He's Frank Schwab. I'm Jason Fitz. You know the drill. It's inside coverage. It's week one. We have a game to react to. We have a game tonight. We have games over the weekend. I have so much joy in my heart right now, Frank. Like, I'm having a hard time keeping it together. I'm already borderline non-professional, but now we're adding the excitement of week one. My brother, I don't know how we do this. I don't know what today's going to look like. This is going to be a wild off-the-rail shows.
Again, I'm going to say it like 800 times. So week one, other than the first 2 days of March Madness, week one is the best, absolutely the best thing on the sports calendar, better than the Masters or whatever you want to call it. But it's I love it. It's awesome. And we got off to what a start last night. Like hey, this is what the NFL season is going to be like. All right, sign me up, because that was a pretty unbelievable ending.
Yeah, well, it was an unbelievable ending, but we'll get right to it, my friend, because it leads to already some trash talking on the show, because a couple of days ago with Jory, we sat down and we made our picks, and Jory and I both picked against the Chiefs. You picked the Chiefs, and I thought as the clock was hitting 0 that I was going to be able to text you and say, nanny, nanny, boo-boo, I won. I did not. It turns out that Isaiah Likely having just the tiniest of two big feet kept him out of bounds on the what would have been the game-tying touchdown as the clock hit 0. But really, to me, what this showed was two of the best teams in the league last year are still two of the best teams.
Absolutely. By the way, it warmed my heart to go to Twitter and see everybody making the Kevin Durant comparisons, because 2021 Bucks NBA champions. Yes, that did happen. It was a great game. Look, I don't think it was as close as the finals, the finale, right? Like, the Chiefs were out in front by 10 and all this. They couldn't finish. That's kind of a little bit of a worry for them. But I did think, Lamar showed he's that dude, right? He's one of the 5 quarterbacks on the planet who could just make something out of nothing, who could lift all of his teammates on his shoulders. I thought he looked fast last night. Everybody talking about how skinny he looked, and you could tell he was just faster. He ran it really well. They didn't have a lot going downfield for a lot of the game in the passing game, but he got that going late. I just thought it was Lamar. Yeah, they lost. They came up a little bit short, but I think it was almost a statement of, hey, we're not scared of the Chiefs. We can hang with them. If you can hang with them like that at Arrowhead, you can do it again in the playoffs. It was a very good game. I was just thrilled, not having to write a story on Deadline. I wasn't thrilled, but I was thrilled to see John Harbaugh. I'm sorry. Yeah, we're both giddy about this. I can't even get the names right. John Harbaugh put up the 2 right away. When he thought Likely scored, they're going for 2 in the win. And I thought the one thing that bothered me about last night is I wanted to see that drama. Like, I wanted to see like one play from from inside the 5 for 2 points in the win. That would have been an awesome way to end week one, but still pretty good game, pretty good finish. I thought the Ravens made a statement. I thought the Chiefs made a statement. They looked really good last night. The defense played well most of the game until that final drive. I thought that offensively, Xavier Worthy, oh my goodness, he's fast. I don't often do this because I'm usually watching games by myself, right, on the couch. I audibly yelled out an expletive on Worthy's first touchdown. He just looked so fast. I just screamed out. Like, it was exciting to see him, exciting to see Rashee Rice. I'm going on and on because NFL football is back in our lives, and we got a great game to start this with.
Frank, I think last night the Chiefs gave the entire league a reason to say, oh God, because you talk about that speed from Xavier Worthy. There was nobody that could get in the way of it. Like, he was open. The stat line good. The number of times he was open, great, right? Rashee Rice looked explosive in that offense. Everything looked fast. And now all of a sudden I'm looking at it and saying, after last year, you made a smart point the other day. You went back and rewatched the Super Bowl, and it reminded you how bad the offense looked at times, and they still won the Super Bowl. I watched that last night thinking, how in the hell is anybody going to stop this version of the Chiefs? If that's week one, when they're rusty and they got to get things worked out with the rookie wide receiver you're asking a lot from, if that's week one, what are they going to look like by week 12? Like, we sat here and said, well, is Kelsey going to hit the wall? I kept looking at it saying last night, my God, with that level of speed, I don't know how you stop this version of Kansas City. I know it's only one game, but you can't tell me the rest of the league didn't watch that game and say, oh God, this just got even tougher than we thought.
If you're the Buffalo Bills, why did you help out the Chiefs? I get it. You got to play your own game, as they would say on Big Brother or whatever. But why would you gift the Chiefs Xavier Worthy? Because he is going to be a problem all year. I get the second touchdown as busted coverage, but whatever. The speed he has and how many times he could just get open and how many times he clears out. There was a great play that they ran. It was very early in the game. It was first half for sure, where Worthy just runs up this seam to clear out, Rice comes right in behind him. I think it was like a 3rd and 6. And it was like, okay, how do you defend that? You have to respect Xavier Worthy's deep speed. And Rashee Rice is just going to eat in the intermediate. When you give Mahomes and Andy Reid a weapon like that, they're going to figure out ways to use him that always don't show up on the box score. So I agree with you. And also, look, the first 5 years of the Mahomes era, they didn't have a great defense, right? We all know this story. And then the defense showed up last year, basically carried them to a Super Bowl. Defense looked awesome last night. Like everybody was talking about
Chris
the Ravens
Jones,
offensive.
My God, last
oh
night.
my
Chris
goodness!
Jones,
Like
good
you can't block that guy. Still, their defense looked great. And I mean, everybody's talking about the Ravens offensive line, and it did struggle, and it might struggle early in the year while they get everything together, replacing 3 starters. But a lot of that was just the Chiefs are that good up front. I mean, for 3.5 quarters until Lamar hit Isaiah Likely downfield for that 49-yard score, the whole Ravens offense was just get the ball out fast because Lamar has 0 time to hold the ball in the pocket. Like everything was a 2-yard bubble screen or something to Zay Flowers. And they could not throw downfield because the Chiefs were in Lamar's lap all game. And I think that was a lot more of the Chiefs defense. If you could pair a top 5 defense with a top 5 offense with the Chiefs, it is really, really scary. It is going to be hard to defend that offense with Xavier Worthy being there now. They didn't even have Hollywood Brown last night, who I think is going to be a huge actor. Like the difference between Juju Smith-Schuster at this point in his career and Hollywood Brown is massive. And that's what you're going to be upgrading to as soon as next week on offense. The defense still looks great. They got gassed a little bit at the end. They gave up the long drive, but that's Lamar. Lamar's going to do that to you. Again, this defense looked as good as ever. Offense is going to be great. How do you beat this team? It's going to be really, really hard this year.
Well, and that's where I go back to the Ravens side of this, because I said a couple of days ago, I think the Ravens have the chance to be the best offense in the NFL this year. They can beat you so many different ways, so many different levels. I stand by that, but I also think that their offensive line really looked bad. And part of that is the Chiefs. Yeah. Part of that's having a rookie come in that you're depending on, that on his first snap just gets absolutely abused.
Oh my God. Right? Like he didn't even, it was like, welcome to the NFL, kid. Like, here's Chris Jones. And Chris Jones went by him like he was a fire hydrant. Like, it was just like, whoa, this is not going to be good tonight for the Ravens offensive line.
And they got to get that fixed quickly, because one thing that I noted last night watching, the telecast and hearing Chris Collinsworth over and over again, and everybody on the broadcast continually tell us Lamar Jackson looked like a man possessed, and you could tell the drama and like how much it mattered to him. And he was playing so passionately in that game, and he wanted it so bad. I think the Ravens as an organization did. So what you have is a Ravens team that I have high expectations for, that I still think is very good. They came out with the thunder of the gods, and it wasn't enough. Like, let's be honest here. Like, the Ravens, they got to clean that offensive line up, because they'll never reach their potential as an offense if they can't keep Lamar upright. If I want them to be able to push the ball downfield to Zaymore, which I think should be a part of this offense, how in the hell do you do that if the minute your quarterback drops back, he's suddenly having to take that new lean body frame and wiggle around everywhere to try and make himself time? Like, this is one thing that we all have to, and I have to do this too. We have to remind ourselves that real football is not video game football. And as great as your weapons look on the outside, where you feel like you can push the ball downfield and everything's going to go great, if your 5 fat guys in front can't beat their 5 fat guys in front, you're screwed. And we saw that last night over and over and over again for Baltimore.
Going to be very interesting week 2 to see the Ravens offensive line, to get a better idea of, was that the Chiefs defensive front, or was it their line has real serious problems? Because you're right, if the whole offense can't be 3-yard passes to Zay Flowers until he hit Likely, and I want to talk about him in a second. Until he hit Likely for that long one, I think I said in a broadcast his ADOT was 1. Like, his average depth of target. Like, it was crazy how short he was throwing, but they had no choice. I mean, Mark Andrews was blocking a lot. Let's talk about that real quick. Like, boy, I have Mark Andrews in a few fantasy leagues, and I'm already like RIP. Like, I think Isaiah Likely made a statement last night of, yeah, I'm here. I'm not going to stay off the field anymore. Like, you guys are going to have to feature me. He looked awesome. I mean, from beginning to end, he just looked like one of the best tight ends in football. And but yes, with the Ravens, I think if you're being realistic about the Ravens, again, for 3.5 quarters until right at the end, I thought the Chiefs really controlled that game in many, many ways. And if you're the Ravens, you have to be, you can't just say, oh, we came a toe away from a 2-point conversion to win the game at Arrowhead. You can look at it that way, but also you have to be real and say, why couldn't we get Derrick Henry going in a run game? Why couldn't we block in the pass game? I think you're going to have some serious come to Jesus moments and say, what do we need to fix before week 2?
Mark Andrews with 2 catches for 14 yards on 2 targets.
Man,
Isaiah Likely with 9 catches for
111
111 and 12 targets.
If he's on your fantasy team, make contingency plans right now. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was no doubt who the guy was. And I texted Charles Robinson, our colleague, and I'm like, man, this Mark Andrews thing. And he's like, yeah, I could have told you that. I went to camp and Likely was obviously the guy. I'm like, why didn't you tell me then? Why didn't you tell me? I could have avoided drafting Mark Andrews after he went to camp. But alas, yes, if you own Mark Andrews in your fantasy team, you might want to start making other plans now, because I don't know that he's even the best tight end on his own team anymore.
Well, and I was disappointed. Obviously, part of this comes to the offensive line, but Derrick Henry had 13 carries for 46 yards. That's not the workload I would have expected for Derrick Henry to have in this game.
They just couldn't get, every time they handed him the ball, Chris Jones was in his lap or somebody was in his lap.
Right.
What do you do? It's almost like you want to run the ball, establish a run, but if you know you're going to get 2 yards, okay, I get it. I understand. It was almost like a repeat of the AC Championship game where they didn't run it at all, but he was very ineffective, and not because I didn't think Derrick Henry looked particularly bad or anything like that. I just thought their offensive line couldn't block. Well,
and when you end up with a game where Lamar has 16 carries and your new superstar running back only has 13, and you end up with a game where Lamar threw the ball, attempted 41 passes, that shows you lost balance. You were chasing the whole time. And that's something that they're going to have to figure out, because, again, I think the balance of that offense is the opportunity for the beauty in that offense. But if your offensive line can't keep anything going, you're just not going to have that. And also, let's acknowledge the fact that, the sky, if the Chiefs had lost that game, the sky's not falling. They're in a division that they're going to win. All expectations is that,
really?
You can count Raiders on the Chiefs. Well, Raiders going to be a surprise playoff team, but okay, I can't even say that with a straight face. But on the other side, the Ravens, they're about to be in the fire, right? We know that division is going to be very good. The Ravens are going to have to clean some of these things up, because, frankly, I don't know that they're going to have time and grace to be able to, lose a little over the first month and just sort of work out the kinks, because you and I both expect that the Bengals will be very good. You and I both expect that the Browns could be good depending on Deshaun Watson. So if you're the Ravens, you got to get this figured out. You got to get this figured out quick.
Yeah, you do. You're right. You're totally right. The two situations are different, but in the Chiefs situation, you're chasing, obviously, history. You're chasing a 1 seed. You still have things, even if you're going to win your division by a mile, and they will. I think we all know that. That you're still chasing. You don't want to give up some games. But I think the Ravens, yes, that division's going to be really, really tough all year. And there's no shame in going to Kansas City and losing. Probably, literally, everybody's going to go to Kansas City and lose this year. I don't know that they're going to drop a home game. But you're right. You can't let this become now we're 1-2 or whatever it's going to be. They need to figure this out.
Well, let's be real. The Ravens play the Raiders next week. I think that's going to look a little different, especially trying to establish the run against a team that I think this year is going to struggle to stop
the Raiders. What do the Raiders do well? Their defensive line.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I'm not saying the Ravens are going to pull an upset or anything, but if I'm the Ravens, I'm a little nervous about, we got to face Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins, and that line's got to get it together pretty quickly. That's the one thing that if the Ravens are going to get derailed at all this season, and by derailed, it's probably like a 9-10 win season, that'd be disastrous for them to win 10 games, right? And not win a division and maybe be fighting it out in a wild card. They're still a high floor team, but the one thing that could kind of set them back a little bit would be the offensive line. We saw that last night.
There is one lesson we can learn from last night, though, that I think is important even in week 1, game 1, to learn, because it's a narrative that we need to stop in general. It is so easy to sit back and say, well, Lamar just can't beat the Chiefs, or Lamar can't win this sort of game. Let's be very clear. Lamar last night played his tail off. He was absolutely incredible last night. Lamar did everything he possibly could, and the Ravens still lost what will be remembered as a close game on the last play of the game. So it is just a reminder that wins and losses are not a quarterback stat in a team-based game, and that, frankly, a quarterback can do absolutely everything they're expected to do and still lose the game. I feel like there was some football god shining down on us and saying, hey, let me teach you guys a moral and a lesson that I have to teach you guys all the time, because Lamar did not lose the game for the Ravens last night. The Ravens lost the game for Lamar.
Yes. Imagine being a person. I really don't think there's that many of them. Let's be honest. We're talking about a really not too bright minority of people. But imagine being a football fan in 2024 and criticizing Lamar Jackson. He's awesome. What do you just enjoy the show? This dude is a first ballot Hall of Famer. stand up in the meeting and say Lamar Jackson case closed, and everybody votes yes. Like that's who Lamar Jackson is. He's unbelievable. He was unbelievable last night. The one thing I do worry about is not. I mean, he's skinny as you. I mean, he probably went on that cream of wheat plan for 2 months. Can he take these
rice,
hits?
Thank you. Cream of rice.
Cream of rice. I apologize. That is much less appealing and a lot more bland. And can he take the hits? Like, I mean, you don't want your quarterback running 16 times. Like, this is not sustainable over the season. I think that is an issue with this offensive line not protecting him. So that we got to keep an eye on that. But Lamar's as great as ever. He is the best running quarterback I've ever seen. He's an amazing passer. He's one of the best. And again, first ballot Hall of Famer, no argument. Just enjoy it.
Philosophical question for you now that you've brought up, me being skinny. Here's the real question. My whole life, like when I was a little kid, I'm a Raiders fan because my dad's a big Raiders fan. And on Sundays, my dad would go get a dozen donuts and we would sit down together and we'd watch the Raiders game. We'd split a dozen donuts. So my entire life on the road.
So is this like we're eating a donut after every touchdown, or we're just doing it kind of randomly, or
we're double chocolate Dunkin' Donuts? You put the box out, you open them, and you just feast like men. All right,
you're just going.
That's why I was a fat.
I didn't know if you were waiting. Like, we got to wait until Todd Marinovich completes a 10.
If I'm waiting for touchdowns as a Raiders fan, I'm never going to get through 12 of them. So if I'm waiting for first downs, I'm not getting. But here's the thing, like later in life, I'm on the road with the band. I would have a runner go get a dozen donuts. So I would always eat a dozen double chocolate donuts during the Raiders game, and I would drink a couple of 2-liter bottles of Diet Root Beer. It's my favorite soda. So it's like a splurge day.
Very, very healthy.
This is my first year going into football on Sunday where I am on this like wildly regimented plan. I don't know what I'm going to do. I stress eat my feelings during the Raiders game. There's no alcohol in my life, and I don't eat any junk food at this point. So like, what am I going to stress eat 4 pounds of grilled chicken during a Raiders game? I don't know what to do here, Frank. Do I give myself the luxury of a dipping sauce, and that's suddenly what I need? I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to handle Sunday. Like, if things are not going well in this game, I'm just going to be pacing around saying I need some freaking sugar, and I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I think you at least have to have a couple of donuts in the house to break glass in case of Gardner Minshew pick six or something like that. Yeah,
you overestimate my ability to like break glass. Will be like opening kickoff doesn't go well, and suddenly I'm like, I'm breaking the glass. Things have gone to hell. All right, so above and beyond my donut consumption, we got a lot to get to in the course of this show, not the least of which are some superlatives. Yes, we have given you the awards you need to know already. We've predicted it. We will tell you how this entire season is going to shape out. We'll do that after we pay some bills. Frank, nothing's better than predictions other than superlatives. And like when I think of superlatives, I always think of like your high school yearbook, which in high school always felt so important. Like I was, can I just tell you, like at the time, like I didn't get most talented in my high school. And I was like, I was already at Juilliard. I was a professional musician making money all over the country. I'd already played Carnegie Hall, and like some kid I didn't even know got most talented in my high school. So like superlatives, like I don't know, but we're going to do this. We're going to give out our own superlatives, our own awards for this coming NFL season as a tremendous way to preview what to expect this season. And the first of those awards is the Kirk Cousins Award. That's my award show song, by the way. The Kirk Cousins Award. What do I mean by that? I mean mediocrity. Who's going to be the average quarterback on the average team by the time this season's done? Where it felt good, it looked good, just the results were just, nah.
I think it's Justin Herbert. Can I say that? Can I get my slander of Justin Herbert knows no bounds here? I just feel like they don't want to pass the ball that much. He has nobody to throw to this year. God bless Lad McConkey, but I don't know that he's necessarily going to be a rookie or Odell Beckham or anything. Jim Harbaugh wants to run the ball. That's who he is. He didn't even have J.J. McCarthy throwing the ball very much at Michigan last year. And I've questioned how great Justin Herbert is. He's the anointed one by everybody. I think he's very, very good, but he still needs a ways to go to match the praise he gets. So if I'm giving the Kirk Cousins Award for mediocre quarterback on mediocre team, I think by the end of the year, it's going to be Justin Herbert.
I like that a lot. Obviously, he's a Raiders fan, but I'll give you a different mediocre team, mediocre quarterback, and that's Geno Smith on the Seahawks. And I say this acknowledging that I think the Seahawks have a lot of potential to be very good this year, and I love their head coach. But I keep going back to Mike McDonald, which always makes me think of the Doobie Brothers. And I think about what Ravens players said at the time, that it took a couple of years for them to really understand his defensive system. While I think he's going to be a great head coach, understanding the complexity of what his defense means, to me, means the Seahawks may have some blown coverages. They may have some moments this year where it just gets a little frustrating. And I think their weapons are great, but I think their quarterback's sort of sitting in mediocrity. So by the end of the year, I think Seahawks fans will feel really good about where their team is going, but I also think they'll acknowledge that it was a middle-of-the-road season with a middle-of-the-road quarterback. You in on that one?
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree, but I think that with Seattle, the one thing they didn't address is the offensive line. That offensive line still worries me. I think the defense is actually going to be fine. Like, I know what the Ravens players said, and I get that, but I think Mike McDonald is good enough to adjust. His first Ravens team was awesome. Like, I get what they're saying, that it took them a while to get the system, but you look back at the Ravens of a couple of years ago and Mike McDonald's first year there, they were really, really good on defense. I think Seattle's going to be good on defense. I actually like Seattle as kind of a sneaky-ish, like a playoff team. I have some slips to prove that too. I think Seattle's going to be really good. I think Mike McDonald's going to be your NFL coach of the year. I think Geno's just, I don't think his step back last year, and it was a step back. We can't get around that. A lot of that was due to the offensive line. Now, maybe that's a problem again. Maybe he just has the same struggles, but I think Geno is pretty good. I think he's the guy from 2 years ago. I just think he was in a worse situation last year. I think he's going to bounce back and be okay.
All right, look at that. By the way, I think we can all agree that the Doobie Brothers were better before Michael McDonald. Like, I'm just saying, the Michael McDonald era of the Doobie Brothers, far more forgettable. All right, let's go to the next award. And this one is the Barry Sanders Award. What do we mean by that? The Barry Sanders Award is a great player who will just simply have to carry a bad team by himself. Who you got on that one?
Oh, I had to think about this a little bit. It's almost could be the Breece Hall Award, right? I think it might be. I'm going to go with Jaden Daniels because, and I don't even know that the Commanders are going to be bad. I've obviously talked about my love of the Commanders 8 million times this offseason, and I'm worried they're going to get blown out by the Buccaneers on Sunday, and I look bad. But I just think that I think this kid's going to be awesome. I mean, not that I'm going out on a limb saying the second overall pick of the draft who won the Heisman Trophy last year is a good football player, but I just think he's going to hit the ground running. I think he's my offensive rookie of the year pick. But I acknowledge that the Commanders have a lot of issues. Like their number 2 receiver right now might be De'Ami Brown. Like there's that secondary might be bad. The offensive line clearly is bad. I think it might be the Jaden Daniels show, but I'm okay with that. I think Jaden Daniels going to be really, really good. And I think he's good. They're going to get a lot more wins than they should have because that kid's going to be awesome as a rookie. Caleb's going to be awesome too. Maybe Bo Nix we'll see when he actually faces a starting defensive player. But I think Jaden Daniels is the guy who, by the end of the year, we're going to be saying, wow, this is just so fun to watch in Washington.
I like that pick a lot, and I love Jaden. I think Jaden's going to be a superstar. For me, I will go to the team that I love the most, because there's a really obvious selection on this.
Yeah,
Max Crosby has a very real chance of being Defensive Player of the Year this year.
Do you think he would? Let's say, look, he's awesome. Would they give defensive? Let's say he has 18 sacks, which is clearly within his range of outcomes, and they go. And I'm sorry, Fitz. Let's say they go 7-10.
That's my prediction, actually, 7-10. Yeah.
Okay. Would they give him Defensive Player of the Year over like Micah Parsons getting 13 sacks on a 12-win Cowboys team, for example? I don't know that they would. Voters love winning teams as much as that's really, really dumb an individual award sometimes.
I think you're right that it would be tough. I do think that there's a groundswell, like momentum matters in awards. And so the fact that he's so beloved by people now and so appreciated by people, and the fact that not only does he get the sack numbers, but if you look at any of the advanced metrics on his run stopping, it's incredible, right? So he's going to be, I think, all year touted as Max is great and the Raiders are bad. And so my prediction is the Raiders go 7-10 this year. I've kind of settled in on that. But I think 18 sacks is sort of the range where Max ends up, especially with Christian Wilkins being next to him. That defensive line is going to be a force. So the 7 wins they get to are going to be in large part because the defense carries them. And the concept is going to be, imagine where this team could be if they actually had a competent quarterback. So I give Max Crosby Defensive Player of the Year. At least he'll be in that conversation. I'm not saying he's winning it. I think he has a real shot at it. I think he's top 3 in that. And the Raiders are bad. So he's going to be carrying that bad team. He's the Barry Sanders. He's my current Barry Sanders.
Yeah, great call. Like, I mean, how could I disagree with that? Max Crosby is one of the most fun players in the NFL to watch. He's just a force. He's just a joy to watch. There's very few times, let's be honest, when you're watching a defensive lineman. Like, there's only a few guys. I'm not sitting here watching Montez Sweat every down. Like, and nothing against Montez, but Max is one of those guys where you kind of train your eyes on number 98 before the snap. He's a wrecking ball. He's awesome. I'd love to see a guy like that win Defensive Player of the Year, because often I just think it gets too formulaic of, well, who was a guy who had double-digit sacks on a really good team? Like, no, let's make individual awards individual.
So the next award for us in our superlatives, the Frogger Award, the Leapfrog Award. Somebody in their second year that's going to leap and take this huge froggy leap forward. I think this is obviously Bijan, right? Like, it's got to be Bijan in his second year. I mean, that this is just because, frankly, and I feel so mean when I say this, but the Falcons finally have a competent coach. Like, no offense, Arthur Smith, but kind of offense, Arthur Smith.
That was a lot of offense. Yeah.
Okay. Well, but I'm from the South for all those years where you could just say, like, bless their heart or no offense, and people have to take it. Like, look, Arthur was a liability. Arthur Smith was a liability as a head coach for the Falcons. And his inability to use the weapons he had is why he's now the offensive coordinator for the Steelers. And part of why I look at it and say, man, hope you do better with that than you did when you were in charge of the whole thing, right? Like, Bijan is wildly talented, has great weapons around him, has a quarterback that's going to feed him, and has an offense that I think we can actually believe in. So Bijan takes a big leap forward simply because he doesn't have to walk into the office and wonder how Arthur Smith is going to waste him this week.
Yeah, right.
No offense.
No offense, bless his heart. It was so funny to me to see all 5 writers who did predictions for Yahoo Sports, all 5 of us independently picked Bijan Robinson as our offensive player of the year. I'm very concerned about my fantasy teams where I have Bijan now, because I think we have jinxed him completely. But you're right. It's so obvious that I want to go somewhere else with this award. I'm going to go Bryce Young. I warmed up to the idea that Bryce Young might be a ton better in year 2. He was not good last year, and there weren't even flashes, and that's what worries me. But the Panthers completely reformed their offense, starting with the coach, Dave Canales. Went out and got Deontay Johnson, who can get open for him. They drafted a good running back, tight end, and receiver for him. We'll see Xavier Legette, how long it takes him to really get up to speed, but he has got a lot of talent. Spent a lot of money on the offensive line. Bryce Young is in such a much better situation this year than last that I think he takes a huge step forward. I think we all know Bijan Robinson is a good player. He had like 970 rushing yards last year. He wasn't bad by any means. Bryce Young was bad. I hate to say it. Bless his heart. Bryce Young was bad last year. I think he's going to be pretty good. And by the end of the year, we're going to say, yeah, he's not CJ Stroud, but you know what? The Panthers might have got this right after all and got a good quarterback.
I think Stone and Emmy are tremendous producers. We need to have a segment in the future called Bless His Heart, where we just absolutely trash people. And then at the end, we're like, bless his heart. It's fine. I'll give you one other name, too, to keep an eye on that I think is in this running, and that's Jackson Smith-Njigba. We talked earlier about Seattle, but I think he's poised to take a big leap forward. I wouldn't be surprised by the end of the year. I told everybody in their fantasy draft, I don't care about Cher. I don't care about any of that. Go draft Jackson Smith-Njigba. I think
my
he has
most
a real
owned
chance
player. Yes, him and Khalil Shakir. I play in more fantasy leagues than I'd like to admit in any public forum. But my most owned player was Jackson Smith-Njigba and Khalil Shakir. The tied. I mean, I think JSN is going to be awesome this year, and it wouldn't surprise me if he leads them in receiving.
I'm in 6 leagues. Are we over or under 6?
Oh, yeah. 6 is my warm up, dude. Yeah. I had to have, so to tell a little bit about me, Yahoo Fantasy Sports, which we are, look, I am a company man in many ways. Look at my Twitter handle, but we do have the best fantasy game. Like we do. Like I would say that whoever I worked for, but they do have a limit on how many leagues you have. I had to actually contact Jason Klobacha. I cannot pronounce his name, but Chewy, we all call him.
Chewy.
And be like, hey, can you call the programmers and have them bump up my limit on how many leagues I can be in on one? And he did. I had the inside.
Do you have a group chat on each of those? Because like every one of my leagues has a group text, which almost wears me out more.
Not all.
Than, like in a beautiful way. But like, are you chatting with everybody the whole time?
No,
or
only
you just
a couple leagues. A couple leagues, yes. A couple leagues, very, very good friends. Cali FFL Worldwide. My boys there. And, those type of leagues. But no, not a great. That would drive me nuts. But yes, I enjoy the competition too much. I'm addicted to the action. You're addicted to like losing weight. Jory's addicted to running marathons. I'm addicted to action. You know that.
I thought we were really good friends. So thanks for the fantasy football invite this year, Frank. Appreciate that. Yeah, that's good. No, it's fine. It's fine. Plays in 732 leagues. Doesn't invite his co-host into any of them. That's fine. It's fine. Let's just keep moving these awards along with the tone of sadness. Now, Let's go with most surprising playoff team, and I'm gonna cheat right out of the gate. Before you give me your most surprising playoff team, I will give you my most surprising playoff prediction. I'm going to double down on this. This is my last chance to scream this into the world. My most surprising playoff prediction. This isn't a surprising team to make the playoffs, but still, the Dallas Cowboys are going to finish with the first overall seed in the NFC and home field advantage throughout the course of the playoffs. Just book it. It's done. The Cowboys are fine. Wow. They're going to have the top seed in the NFC. They're going to win some playoff games. Dak's going to be somewhere else next year. Everybody calm down. I'm not a Cowboy lover or a hater. I'm just a logic guy. So the Cowboys, top seed in the NFC. That is my surprising playoff team because nobody's picking them to be the top seed. But do you have somebody that you have in mind?
I do like that. I will say this. I'm going to go even more contrarian than you. I think the Atlanta Falcons have a shot at the 1 seed in the NFC. Not because the Atlanta Falcons are the best team in the NFC. We talked about this last year, I think, with the Jaguars. Their schedule is so much weaker than everybody in the NFL, not just like NFC teams or teams in their division. They have the weakest schedule in the NFL. And I think this Atlanta Falcons team is pretty good. I think they win that division by they have it wrapped up like right after Thanksgiving. Like that's how much better they are than the rest of the division. And I think they can collect enough wins while the Cowboys, the 49ers, even the Lions beat it themselves up within the division. I think the Falcons can sneaky be in the mix for the 1 seed, but that's not the exercise here. My sneaky playoff team. I know you think I'm going to say the Commanders. I do think the Commanders fall short of the playoffs. I think they're going to be really, really good but fall short. But we talked about them before, the Seahawks. I just love that coach. I think they have a ton of talent on both sides of the ball. If they could just get decent offensive line play. I'm not even going to say average, just decent, passable offensive line play. I think the Seahawks are going to be really, really good this season. And I think they're going to be my kind of surprise playoff team. If I'm allowed one more, maybe those are our next award. I would like to talk about a team that might not make the playoffs. I think every single person thinks is going to make the playoffs.
Well, before we do that, you have the right team, right division, wrong team. If I'm going to have a sneaky team to make it that people don't talk enough about, it's the Rams. No, it's the Rams.
Oh, the Rams. Yeah, Rams are fine.
I don't care about Aaron Donald being gone. Like, I trust Sean McVay. I think the Rams have a very real shot at the playoffs. So
yeah, they made the playoffs last year, Fitz. It's not that surprising. Come on.
Well, but people count them out. All right, people count them out. Look, I didn't say the Raiders. That's growth. All right, so who did you have that everybody's in on that you're out on?
I'm worried about. I just don't know about the Houston Texans. I just think we're too over our skis with the Houston Texans. I keep coming back to the fact that the Jaguars were going to win that division if Trevor Lawrence doesn't suffer a high ankle sprain, and they were going to win it by a couple games. He suffers a high ankle sprain when they're 8-3 and about ready to beat the Bengals, and everything unraveled for them after that. I keep coming back to if the Falcons or if the Colts call a better play on 4th down, they might beat the Texans. The Texans never make the playoffs, so we're not talking about them all off season. CJ Stroud is that dude. I love CJ Stroud. Don't get me wrong. I think CJ Stroud's awesome. He might win, throw 5,000 yards, win MVP. They might win a Super Bowl because he's that good. I'm not saying that's out of the range of outcomes. But for a team to come so far, so fast, there's almost always some pullback. I still like the Colts. I still like the Jaguars. I don't think the Texans win that division. I really don't. I think I've switched up the Colts to the Jaguars. As the season starts here, I think the Jaguars win that division because they were on their way to winning that division. Nobody remembers that last year. I think that, and if you're stuck in the AFC wildcard mix, it's hard. You got the Jets and the Bills fighting it out, the Dolphins. You have 3 teams from the AFC North that are all playoff worthy. Who knows what the AFC West produces if they produce a wildcard contender. Once you don't win your division, it's hard to get in the playoffs, and I wonder if the Texans are the team that steps back. While acknowledging CJ Stroud could make that look really, really stupid, and they go 14-3, and he wins MVP unanimously.
I'm going to call this class clown. Okay, because not because your opinion's clown, but because let me be clear. I'm going to call this class clown because I think if anybody tells you they know exactly what to expect out of the AFC South, they are a clown. Like, to me, Anthony Richardson has had these little moments that are really good, but we haven't seen nearly enough to be able to step back and say, yep, this is good. We can anoint. We've seen a little bit, but we've seen a lot of quarterbacks have a few good games, right? Like, so I'm not going to sit here and anoint the Colts till we see more of it. I just won't do it. We have no idea what a brand new coaching staff looks like with the Titans, who have invested a bunch of money around Will Levis, who frankly didn't really have an opportunity to show much last year. So I don't know. Like the Titans could be an abject disaster. The Titans could be pretty good. I have no idea. And then you look at the Jags, and I think you're very right. Like things didn't gel together last year. It wasn't good, but we know the potential that is there, and we've seen how good it can be. So is this the year where it all comes together? Trevor Lawrence stays healthy, and Doug Peterson finds that right love language for him, and it all goes great? Could, might could, might not.
Brian Thomas Jr., like we're all talking about Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison and Roma Dunze. Brian Thomas Jr. might be really, really good. He was drafted as Xavier Worthy. Let's remember that. All the camp reviews are, this kid is legit. Like, I just, and you said, like, you know, the Jaguars didn't gel together. They really did. They were good last year. They were 8-3. This was a good Jaguars team. We have entirely forgotten how good they were because of how it ended. And it ended in disaster.
And that's because it fell off the rails. You're right.
They were awful
it's fair
at the
point
last year. But yeah. I think how much of that is attributed to Trevor Lawrence. High ankle sprains are the death of a football player's season. Like once a guy suffers high ankle sprain, I cross him off the list. Like I'm like, you're not gonna be yourself all season. Trevor Lawrence didn't even miss a game. And kudos to him, hats off. Like he's a tough dude, but he wasn't the same guy, and they fell apart. I don't think that's coincidence. I think that there's something to be said there. I think the Jaguars are a sneaky good football team. I mean, we're talking week. Well, I think they beat Miami on Sunday. I do. Like I got some spice.
Hold. I don't give any more spice on that. That's for bold predictions. That's not.
Yes, that's true.
Now you just willy-nilly. You're throwing out your bold prediction.
You know I have bold predictions. I wake up, I roll out of bed with bold predictions, and I believe all of them. Trust me, I'm not just out here willy-nilly like, Shedeur Sanders is going to be Cowboys quarterback next year. I don't do that kind of stuff. I trust me, if I say something, I believe it, and I believe in this Jaguars team being a lot better than everybody remembers.
Look, just remember, nobody has just more terrible takes than Stephen A, and he got really rich doing it. So, you know, maybe that's the maybe
I've not
that's
gotten
the
rich
secret.
for my terrible takes in the betting window at Yahoo, whatever. Like
now that I'm out here just trashing the biggest name in the entire industry, we're gonna pay some bills, which I might need to do. We're gonna pay some bills, and then we're gonna give you a week 1 game that nobody's talking about and some bold predictions. We'll do that next. We are back with week 1 games and some bold predictions. And I'm going to be very clear on this show. Frank and I are always going to be honest with you, okay? Like, we are at the spot now where let's just say that both of us, we're closer to degenerates when it comes to gambling than we are to dabblers. So we'll get into a little bit of that. But bold predictions, before we even do some of that, I want to start with one game in week 1 that I know I am passionate about. I want your thoughts on it because I don't think anybody's talking about it. I just mentioned that the AFC South is sort of this wildly incomplete. Nobody knows, right? So to me, one of the most interesting games of the weekend that nobody's paying attention to is Bears at Titans. Because like Caleb and all the expectations that are there, like everybody's got their eyes on what Chicago's going to look like. And then for the Titans, you have a brand new coaching staff that we have no idea. And Jory has said to us multiple times that there's a rule of 20%. The first few weeks of the season, you have about 20% plays that nobody's ever seen before, right? So, and I should say it's Titans at Bears. I'll correct myself there. But about 20% of the plays you've never seen. That number is going to be what? Double for the Titans? Like the Bears are really going to go into this game blind. As much as you might think you do know about Brian Callahan, you don't. Like, we have no idea what his tendencies are going to be as a head coach. We don't know what to expect from this offense or defense. So, like, I think there's a sneaky advantage to the Titans going into this saying, hey, we can do whatever we want, and you're probably not as prepared for it as you should be. So it feels like this is wildly interesting to me, and nobody's focused on it.
Yes, for first-time head coaches who don't have a long track record as a coordinator or have a brand new coordinator, I think it is an advantage for them early in the season. The Titans for sure. This is not going to look anything like the Titans teams you're used to. Like this is going to be much, much different with Callahan. And he wasn't even calling plays with the Bengals. So I don't know what you study if you're the Bears, if you're Eberflus going into this game. Like we just got to figure it out on the fly. Like we got to guess. Look at the Bengals tape and see. Seattle's like this too. I know McDonald's got a track record, but Grubb doesn't, their offensive coordinator. Like, he comes from college. We don't know what he's going to trot out there. So I think that's a disadvantage for even a great coach like Sean Payton in week 1. But yes, I agree. This is a fun game. It's not all going to be perfect for Caleb Williams. CJ Stroud set the bar so high for rookie quarterbacks. It's unfair to them. Because every time somebody struggles for the next few years, it's going to be like, why is Caleb Williams having a bad game? CJ Stroud didn't. It's going to be unfair. It's tough to play quarterback in the NFL as a rookie. It really is. Caleb might be awesome day one. I mean, he's a great player. He's fun. But there are going to be bumps in the road. There are going to be ups and downs. And I have no idea what to expect out of the Bears. I'm with you. This is the sneaky good game on the schedule. I have another one that I'm interested in more. And we don't get a lot of like great divisional games right out of the gate, but Houston at Indianapolis, like there's so many variables in this game. And this game, for as much as people want to give the Texans the AFC South, this game's going to go a long way in determining who wins that division. I think the Colts remember the disappointment of Week 18 last year when they lost that win-and-in game. And Anthony Richardson's back. And look, there's going to be ups and downs with him, too. He's basically a rookie. But what skill he has, what talent he has, it's different. You're playing the Colts, not with Gardner Minshew a quarterback anymore. Sorry, Fitz. But you're playing them with Anthony Richardson, who brings a ton more to the table. I am so interested in this game just to see, are the Texans that good? Are they really one of the top 5-6 teams of football? Okay, my mind is open to it, but I think the Colts could beat them here. I don't know why not. Like, this Colts team's really good, too. They were basically, again, a better fourth down call away from making the playoffs last year, winning that division. So really interested in that game as my kind of off-the-radar best game of the week.
I love that. Bold prediction there is that no matter who loses, everyone's going to think the sky is falling. If Anthony Richardson loses that game and doesn't play well, they'll be like, see, he's walked. And if CJ Stroud has a rough game, that'll be like, oh, it's a one-year wonder. Like, this is what we're going to do.
So while we're on man, as somebody is more in the degenerate mode of it, and we talked about this, Week 2 is a holiday for NFL bettors because everybody overreacts to Week 1. It's crazy. We get so many overreactions to Week 1, and you just fade them Week 2. You stick with what you believe in for Week 2. You're not always going to be 100%, but you'll be right more often than not.
See, Frank is he's educating you guys on a conversation we had a few days ago where I pointed out that I'm tired of losing money Week 1. So I said I was going to wait till Week 3 or Week 4 to put any action down because I like to just see it all normalize and figure out what's going to happen. And then Frank immediately said, no. There's money to be made in Week 2. And now I've been talked into it. This is why Frank and I can't go to Vegas together because when either of us is the end of the night, I should just go to bed. All of a sudden somebody says shot and a drink, or we're at the craps table for 3 hours.
Shot and a drink at the craps table. Yeah. Oof.
That should have been the name of this show, shot and a drink. Okay. So some bold predictions. I'm going to give you a bold prediction for tonight. We got tonight in Brazil. We got Green Bay taking on Philadelphia. They call that at Philly. We all know it's actually in Brazil. My bold prediction for this is that Jordan Love comes down to earth. Defenses are ahead of offenses in the beginning anyway. Got a lot of youth in this situation. We know all of that, but Philly comes into this season, I think still with a lot of talent on the defensive side of the ball and a lot to prove. They last year were just a disaster, especially when it came to getting after the quarterback. I think it's interesting, exciting maybe to see what they come in, what new wrinkles they have, because let's be clear here. Whatever deficiencies they had in getting after the quarterback last year, I do not believe were talent-based. I believe they were coaching-based. So now, new coaches, new schemes, new defensive coordinator gives them the opportunity to come in and be a disruptor. We've seen that Jordan Love, remember early in the year last year, had some issues when he was disrupted. I don't think Jordan Love's going to be bad this year. I just think tonight in this weekend's game, he comes back to earth a little bit.
I'm interested to see if the Eagles cornerbacks are good enough. We all know they drafted a couple of them, but Cooper DeJean, their second pick, Vic Fangio came out and straight up said he's not ready because of the injury. He had an injury through most of camp, so we're not going to see him in a major role. Quinyon Mitchell, a rookie, he's going to play a major role, but he's a rookie. And the Packers could spread you out. They got 4 good receivers. They have 4 receivers that should start on practically any NFL team. So I don't know. I'm interested to see if the Eagles are better personnel-wise. We know they're going to be coached better with Vic Fangio, and I'm interested. I don't know what we've talked about this all off season, and I'm still at the same place. I don't know what to make of the Eagles. They could lose by 14 in Brazil. They could win by 14. Nothing would surprise me. I mean, they got the talent to really turn out the lights on the Packers. They're that good. They could be the best team in the NFL roster-wise. I just don't know if they've fixed everything from the end of last year. It's a fascinating matchup. It's one of those. There's about 2-3 games on the schedule for Week 1 where I'm just shrugging. I have no idea what to make of this game. This is one of them because I think both of these teams are really, really good, and the Eagles are the biggest variable in the NFL. They could be great. They could struggle out of the gates and fire Nick Sirianni. I have no idea anymore about the Eagles.
So can I give you another bold prediction? Are you ready for this one?
Please do.
Calf tightness turns into Justin Fields actually starting Week 1 for the Steelers and never looking back.
I'll go a step further. If I'm the Atlanta Falcons, when I saw that Russ missed practice, I was like, uh-oh, we were going to beat the heck out of Russell Wilson. Justin Fields could make plays. I'm I get it. Justin Fields has his flaws, right? But when he's in the game, it's different. It's a different vibe. It's a different speed. It's a different tempo. I don't want to face Justin Fields if I'm the Falcons. I was perfectly happy facing Russell Wilson. Once Justin Fields comes in, as somebody who may or may not have some investment in the Atlanta Falcons in week 1, I saw that and I was like, I was really hoping for Russ in this game. And that tells you where the Steelers are at quarterback. Like, yeah, I believe, I think Fields starts week 1, and I'm not sure he gets a job back. Not necessarily that he's going to ball out or anything, but I think they're going to see like, yeah, okay, this kid brings a lot to the table that Russ just doesn't anymore.
Now, I'll be honest. Like I just said, I'm skipping any action week 1. I got to go on a nice vacation this year because I kept betting the over on Justin Fields rushing yards. If Justin Fields is starting on Sunday, I'll be hosting Fantasy Football Live for us right before kickoff. If I get word that Justin Fields is in live, I might just have to stop and be like, excuse me. There we go. Like that'll get me out of my 1 week retirement to get. I know we're live right now. You guys talk about some fantasy football things. I've got action I need to place because Justin Fields rushing over. Vegas is wrong about it all the time. You're right. He adds a different dynamic. So but I think that the calf tightness, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Like I tell everybody all the time, I really don't care if we walked on the moon or not. Like if we didn't walk on the moon, it won't change my Friday. Right. So I'm not like, I don't care who shot JFK. I don't care if there were 17 people in the grassy knoll. It won't change my Friday. If Justin Fields is actually like, if the conspiracy theory is that Russell Wilson was named the starter only to have the calf tightness so that Justin Fields could get in, that changes my Sunday. So I'm in on that one all day, every day.
Yeah, I'm with you. Can I give you a bold one here?
Give me something bold. Give me something juicy. Give it to me.
Are we to the underdogs part of the program?
No, we're not doing the underdog pick yet, but you can pick some underdogs. Yeah.
Because I think the Carolina Panthers start 1-0. I am so down on the Saints team, man. Like I've been kind of saying all offseason, like, oh, they're fine. They're just mediocre. Now to the point, I'm just like, I don't think they're good. Like I think the Saints team just might plummet. There's nothing for me to get excited about with the New Orleans Saints. Like their offensive line's a mess now. Derek Carr's just got to check it down 50 times a game. And I've come around to the idea with Bryce Young, the idea that the Panthers are going to be feisty. I don't think they're winning 8-9 games. Like I think that's ridiculous, but I think it would be a tough out most weeks. And I think that the New Orleans Saints come into this game kind of saying, we're favored. Panthers went 2-15 last year. We're going to win this game at home. I think you're going to get ambushed a little bit by a new coach. Again, you have a blueprint on Canales' offense, but it's different when you're the guy and you can do whatever you want. I think that it's tough to prepare for that. And I think they get ambushed a little bit by the Panthers at week 1. And I think the Panthers, who were 2-15 last year in the worst team of football, start this season 1-0.
If that happens, Dennis Allen will be the first coach fired. Because
he's not
look at
fired
this.
Monday. Like
no. But look at after that. Then they go to Dallas. Then they have Philly. Then they go to Atlanta. Then they go to the Chiefs. Then they have the Bucs. They could start 0-6.
Yeah, they really
and like I remember when Dennis Allen was let go, a month into the Raiders season. Like if this team starts 0-6 and the wheels have come off, even if they start 1-5, it's going to be difficult. But if you can't even say, well, look what we did against the Panthers, my God, like that's the next level of this bold prediction is if you're right, Dennis Allen will be the first coach fired this year. That feels natural. I'm a little stunned, but I don't disagree with anything you're saying, by the way. Like there isn't this moment where you look at the Saints anymore and say, okay, I understand the identity of this team. I understand how this team absolutely beats everybody. I understand what they're trying to accomplish. So I kind of like that. Bold prediction. I don't think this is necessarily bold. Like Jamar's going to play, right? For the Bengals, like Jamar's.
Yeah,
right?
Unless he does the last minute. I remember back in the days, Green Bay Packers in 94, I believe it was. Like this is before like Twitter, kids, life existed before the internet was a big deal. And it was like Sterling Sharp was just like Saturday night. He's like, nah, I ain't going to play tomorrow unless you give me a new contract. Everyone's like, what? This is happening? You read it in the paper the next morning. And I didn't know Sterling Sharp was going to play week 1. I believe they played the Falcons in week 1. Maybe it was the Vikings, whatever it was. I don't know if Jamar Chase is going to pull that. I think he's going to play, but I don't think he's happy. And I don't know what the Bengals are doing. Like, why is this taking so long? But yes, anyway, to your point, I believe Chase plays unless he pulls a Sterling Sharp last minute holdout. Yeah.
All right. So let me give you this bold prediction. By the end of the weekend, we are anointing, right or wrong, in an overreaction. We're anointing Dalton Kincaid as the best tight end in the NFL. He's going to have a monster game against the Cardinals. It is going to be epic. Josh Allen is going to have a huge game throwing to him. He's going to be the safety net. I think Dalton Kincaid has a massive weekend. So by Monday, everybody's saying, is Dalton Kincaid really the best tight end in the NFL?
I like that. That's really good because that could happen. I'm telling you, the Cardinals over-unders, if you could get them now for the whole season, just take them all because you're going to end up winning more often than not. This team, I think, has the 32nd best defense in the NFL. No offense to Jonathan Gannon, but they just don't have dudes yet. But they got an offense. I think that the Bills have a good defense. I'm not sure if the Cardinals can put up 30-plus points in Buffalo, but I think every game the Cardinals play is just going to be a crazy shootout this year. It's one reason I love Kyler. It's one reason I love Trey McBride. I think Marvin Harrison's going to be good. James Conner's going to be fine. Even Greg Dortch is going to have some fantasy value at times maybe this year. But yes, they're going to give up a ton to Dalton Kincaid. I'm all about Khalil Shakir being the number one guy there. God, I hope you just get the end zone, Khalil. Come on, buddy. But yes, I can see us talking about Kincaid very, very highly on the Sunday night show.
All right, so give me another bold prediction that you've got.
I actually think Sam Darnold's going to have a good season. I think Sam Darnold's going to come out against the Giants, who are not very good in the secondary. Good defensive line, for sure. But I think Darnold is he's the one guy who nobody drafts in fantasy leagues and even two quarterback leagues. He's cheap. And I just am I think the situation is really good for Sam Darnold to have some kind of a career revival. I don't know that we're ever going to see the guy we thought he was at USC that one year, when we thought he was going to be an uber prospect like Trevor Lawrence or something. But I think he has a good season, much better than anybody anticipates. I think Minnesota goes to the Giants. They win easily. Maybe not easily. I don't think they're going to win by 28 or anything. I'm not saying that, but I think they're going to be a better team than the Giants and win. And I think Sam Darnold uses that. He has nobody looking over his shoulder. Doesn't need to worry about when J.J. McCarthy takes a job. I think Sam Darnold has a pretty good season for the Vikings and is a viable guy going forward as somebody's Gardner Minshew. Not a starter who you're oh my goodness, we're set. We can compete with Patrick Mahomes. But I think Sam Darnold's going to be a starting quarterback in the league beyond 2024 because I think he's going to play pretty well with Kevin O'Connell this year.
I'm going to steal from our early week show, our Wednesday show, where two things can be true. The Vikings are going to win this game, and I think win it easily. And Sam Darnold still isn't a good quarterback. I'm just curious. Did you leave your Nate Tice street team shirt behind? Is it in the closet somewhere, with Nate's face? Because I feel like Nate Tice, our incredible, brilliant co-worker here, teammate at Yahoo Sports, I think he has poisoned the water all across the board. Because I feel like everybody's drinking the Sam Darnold Kool-Aid around here. I don't understand it. Sam Darnold, not good. So two things can be true. The Vikings can win. Also, turn the page. Sam Darnold, not good. I don't know what you guys are doing.
I'm telling you, this situation is good. Let's put it that way. You're throwing to the best receiver on the planet. You have a good running game behind you. The offensive line's not bad. That coach, I really, really trust. Jordan Addison's good. This Vikings team is going to be sneaky all year. Don't sleep on the Vikings. I'm not saying they're going to be a playoff team or anything, but I'm also not not going to be loading up against them in my survivor pools either. I'm not going to be who will Vikings play this week? I'm just taking the other team. This Vikings team is going to be a tough out all year. I just have a ton of respect for that coach more than anything. I think O'Connell is a real home run for them. I think he's legit.
I agree with all of that other than the Sam Darnold part. All right, I'll give you another. Speaking of coaching, I believe that Dave Canales was a big part of why Tampa Bay was able to right the ship with Baker Mayfield, a big part of why they looked so good last year. They don't have him this year. I think that's being undersold. Bold prediction. I think Baker looks bad, and the Bucs get beat by Washington week 1.
I'm with you, Commander. I gotta buy some Commanders gear or wear it on the show because I've been
no. Nobody buys on this show. Nobody buys. They send you. Look, Commanders, as much as he's talking about, send the man a box of swag. We ain't buying Commanders yet. First of all, I would never, but you should not spend $1 of your hard-earned money on Commanders yet. It isn't like there are people, national media flocking to support the Commanders on their show. The Commanders aren't getting hit up for free hats all the time. Send Frank Schwab some things, Commanders, because he's the president of the Jaden Daniels Commanders fan club at this point. I'm just chilling for you.
I really am. So I'm buying that. I think the Bucs, I think they're good. I just think they take a little bit of a step back, and I think they get ambushed a little bit. We see it in week 1 all the time. It's hard. How do you really prepare for this offense with the Commanders with Jaden Daniels? You don't know what you're really getting here. And Jaden Daniels looked good in the preseason from what they showed. I'm really about it. I do want to give you one more, go off the grid a little bit. We have not heard Tom Brady in the booth yet, correct? I think Tom Brady's going to be awesome. I think he's going to be how we talked about Tony Romo his rookie year, and oh my God, this guy's reinventing sports broadcasting as we know it. And let's give him the biggest deal ever. I think Brady's going to be at least at that level. I just think he's such a personable guy who never really could let it out because of the Belichick thing. He was kind of all the Patriots. You can't be yourself when you're on the New England Patriots under Bill Belichick. We all knew that. He was a little more out there when he was with the Buccaneers. We've seen him on social media, and he's awesome. I think Tom Brady, who's going to be calling the Browns-Cowboys game on Sunday for Fox.
That's what I was looking up. Which one's he calling?
And look, he has all these restrictions because of the part ownership stuff, and that's weird, and that's not going to help him at all. But I think he's such a sharp dude. He's really funny, got a great wit. I think Tom Brady immediately, by midseason, by maybe October, we're going to be saying, Tom Brady is the best color guy in the NFL, doing NFL broadcasting. I think nothing against Greg Olson or Collinsworth or anybody like that. I think they all do great jobs. But I think Tom Brady's going to there's never been a game that I can remember other than maybe the Dennis Miller experiment on Monday Night Football where the broadcaster is at least as big of a part as the two teams on the field. I think more people are going to be tuning in to listen to Tom Brady and see what he does in this Cowboys-Browns game than are actually tuning in for the game. And I think Brady's going to blow away expectations. I think he's going to be really, really, really good in a booth. And he's going to be like, if he wants to stick to it, the next Madden is a lot because Madden is the GOAT, but somebody like that who for 20 years, he's going to kind of be the soundtrack of NFL games. I really am buying Tom Brady as a broadcaster.
It's just unfortunate nobody will be watching it since the Raiders-Chargers play at the same time. I'll give you one more before we get to our underdog pick. One more here, and that is the JETS lose, lose, lose. Look, all this hype over, I've been consistent on this the entire offseason. You can't tell me there's not going to be rust. Like, there hasn't been meaningful play from Aaron Rodgers in how long? And we're sitting here pretending that Aaron Rodgers is going to step on the field and be the Aaron Rodgers of old. I'm not going to bet on any of that till I actually see it. So for me, all of this talk that, it's just going to be smooth and perfect. Nope, there's going to be rust for Aaron Rodgers. There's going to be timing issues, all of the things that we should expect. It doesn't mean the sky is falling. It just means, by the way, they're taking on one of the best teams in the NFL. And I don't think the Jets are going to be that week one. They could be that by the middle of the season. They could be that by the end of the year. And I'll be the first to admit if they get there once we've seen that rust knocked off and we see who Aaron Rodgers actually is. But right now, we have no idea. And when you're 3,752 years old and you're coming off an Achilles injury, I can question you. That's all I'm saying. I just need to see it before I buy it, Frank.
I think there are certain athletes where normal rules don't apply, like LeBron James. Like, nobody should be doing what he's doing at age 38. It's just dumb. Like, this is so silly what LeBron's doing at his age. It just shouldn't happen. Tom Brady, another one. There's just certain elite, top of the pyramid tier athletes who the normal rules don't apply. And I think Aaron Rodgers is one of those guys, 4-time MVP. Again, I don't expect Aaron Rodgers to be an MVP candidate anymore. It's too unrealistic for a 40-year-old. But I believe he could be a really good quarterback. And I think you're right. He hasn't played in a long time. There might be timing issues. I don't know. San Francisco's got a great defense. But I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be just fine. I think this Jets team is going to be really, really good. I was the only one of the 5 writers to pick anybody but the Chiefs to make the Super Bowl out of the AFC. I picked the Jets. I think the Jets are in line for that type of season, and I think it starts week 1. I think, look, the San Francisco 49ers have been dealing with a lot, too. You're not telling me there's any rust with... Look, Trent Williams, he's another guy. No rules don't apply to him. He's a freak. But he hasn't played football in a long time. Practicing, I'm talking about. You skip all of August. That has an effect. Ayuk the same way. I just think that this defense gets after San Francisco a little bit, and I think the Jets will be upset in week 1. And I think they're going to have a monster season and be great and go to a Super Bowl, and you're going to owe me for my Jets 1 playoff win bet that we've made earlier this offseason.
This rivalry is going to continue all season. What else is going to continue all season is a new segment we're bringing in, Stupid Underdog Picks. We get to pick one game on the NFL slate, and this is a super simple rule, Frank. All you got to do is pick one game. Once it's been picked by either of us, it's off the board. We can't pick the same game. That's a fair rule. But the way it works is simple. If the underdog covers, then you get the point spread. You get those points handed to you. If the underdog does not cover, you lose those points. So by the end of the year, we'll figure out which one of us did a better job of picking underdogs. This also prevents everybody from trying to pick massive point spreads in any given week because you got a lot of risk in that. Good sir, as the really the smart person on the show, I'll let you pick first on which game you would like.
It says a lot about the show that I'm the smart person. Let's put it that way.
Unless you pick the game I want, in which case I might get mad at you. Go ahead.
I've already played my hand here. I could go with the Jets, but I just believe in this Panthers win. I think the Panthers win straight up. Look, maybe they just look as poor as they did last year, and it looks dumb. And we're talking about Sunday night. We're talking about, oh my God, are they going to bench Bryce Young by the end of September? Like, I can see us having that kind of a conversation on Sunday night. But I'm gonna pass on taking the Jets, who I'd also believe in, but I am going to take the Carolina Panthers on the road week 1 to win straight up. You talked about me being the smart guy on the show. I might not look very smart with that pick, but I'm going with it. I think Panthers win straight up.
All right, so all the Panthers have to do to cover is cover, and you would get 4 points. They are a 4-point underdog as we tape this right now. I am going to take what I think was the most unbalanced game on the board. Cleveland right now is favored by 2.5 over Dallas. You know how much I believe in Dallas. I think the Cowboys win this game.
If the Cowboys are good this year, you're flying your private jet to Colorado, right? Because
I'm gonna make some money. By the time we get to the Super Bowl, if the Cowboys are actually good, I might just PJ it out there to New Orleans to watch this thing. So Dallas is a 2.5-point underdog. That doesn't make any sense to me. I'll take Dallas to take down Cleveland, especially because I still don't know what we can even expect from Deshaun Watson. As much as I think, and we've talked about it, I think Cleveland has the talent to be a Super Bowl winning football team. I do not trust their quarterback. I also do trust the quarterback for the Cowboys. So I've got 2.5 points on the line here, one way or the other. We will keep track of the score and see how it goes. What do you think of my pick?
No, I get it. All off season I talked about the Browns. We were on shows together. I said I think the Browns could be a Super Bowl team, and I'm not. Deshaun Watson had such a bad August as far as just vibes. There were no good stories coming out of. Did you read one thing from Mary Kay Cabot or anybody out there in covering the Browns? It was like, oh my God, Deshaun Watson looks awesome. No, you didn't see one thing about that. It was mostly like, Deshaun, he had a decent day today, and that's good. Like there were such bad vibes, and then the shoulder flares up on him before the preseason finale. So we don't even see him play in the preseason. I've had to back off the Browns. We have no idea what to make of Deshaun Watson. And I think I'm getting to the point where if we're going back a segment, we'll just drop this in there. I'm wondering if Jameis Winston doesn't start more games with Deshaun Watson this season, and it's by choice. Like it's by, well, we got to do something else. I'm that worried about Deshaun Watson coming into the season that we don't know what to make of him. And I guess I'm going to stick with the Browns at least for week 1. So I'm going to be against you. I'm going to take the Browns, I think. But my confidence meter on the Browns has gone from like a 9 to like a 1 over August, just because no good vibes about their quarterback coming out of camp.
All the good vibes coming out of this show. Remember, Sunday night, we will do what we've done all last season. Frank and I will be together. We will go through every single game. So fear not. We talk about every game on Sunday night. One of our favorite things to do. In the meantime, you can follow us on Twitter at Yahoo Schwab, at Jason Fitz. Be sure to rate, subscribe, review. Remember, we have our own podcast feed, or you can subscribe to the Yahoo Sports Podcast and get all of our different great shows. But you can also just subscribe to Inside Coverage. So we're out there for you doing God's work. Stone and Emmy doing God's work for us behind the scenes. We always appreciate their help. In the meantime, tell your friends, your family, and enemies. Tell everybody. Hang out with us every single week. Enjoy week 1. You've got like 48 hours left where your team is undefeated no matter what. Bask in the glory of it. I'll let you know how donut consumption goes. We appreciate you hanging out with us, and we'll talk to you Sunday.